Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 2022 AMER EMEA Ops Engineering Showcase. Today we have a couple of showcase demonstrations regarding PiScript, as well as the newly released work around project level secure variables. And so to start off, I think Darby, looks like you're first with we're talking about that. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Mark. You can hear me okay, right? Cool. All right. So let me share my screen. A second. All right. Can you all see this handbook page? Docs? Okay. Cool. So I've got some notes in the agenda here. So I'll kind of just walk through these and kind of explain what this all is. The current state of this feature, we're calling it project level secure files. This has been released on GitLab.com. It's behind a feature flag today, but I'm hoping to get this rolled out pretty soon. What the purpose of this feature is to add the ability to upload files, either text or binary files that can act as kind of like CI variables. So these would be configuration files that you might use in a pipeline that you don't want to include in version control. So this would be in the use case for the DevOps for mobile SEG. This is going to be Android key store files or provisioning profiles or things like that. So these are kind of like they have sensitive data in them and you don't want to include them in version control, but you need them to build the app and to deploy it to the app store or whatever. So this page in the docs here describes the what's in place today, and it's a API only MVC. And so through the Secure Files API, which is documented here, you can upload a file, you can delete a file, you can list your files, and you can download a file. And so the simple workflow would be I want to upload this file, and then I want to pull these files into my CI job. There's also kind of a minimal implementation for this today, which is this little program called Load Secure Files. And if you put this single line at the start of your job, it's going to download all of your secure files into the runner, and then put them at wherever you define as the download path. So then you can configure your job to use those files from there.
I think the screen you're showing right now is just the issue in your browser. Is that the window you're intending to show?
No, that is the wrong window. I apologize. Hang on. Let's see. How about this one? Does that look better? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so this is the page that's in the docs today. And so again, real quick, creating a file, and then you can see the information about that file. And then down here is the load secure files tool. And so this is like a sample CI YAML file right here. And there's only two things you need to set. You can tell it where you want the files to go. And then this curl command here, which downloads the script and installs it. This is a self-contained like Ruby script. So the nice thing about it is you don't need to have any other dependencies set up in your runner. So you could have, you don't need to use a Ruby image to do it. It'll just download Ruby as part of the package. Any questions on this so far? Cool. Okay. And then this is I guess this is the project page for Load Secure Files. So if you're interested in seeing what it's doing or how it works, you can look at the code there. The next thing that I have, so in progress, is a UI. So I have this MR that I've been working on this week to add this UI. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like this. So I was going to walk through how this works. So you can get to it under here, CI/CD secure files. Hopefully my GDK is still running. And cool. And then I can just go and like upload a file. So I'm going to just grab this file here, And there it is. There's a limit to the size of files you can upload. So they have to be less than 5 meg. And so I'm just going to go through and upload all these. And this is like kind of an example of what a mobile project might look like. So we've got a couple Apple specific files. These are the certificates and the provisioning profile. And then these are a couple Android files that you'd use to build the app. So then what I can do is I can take this, and I've got this kind of template in place here with just a simple build step. And I'm going to add this to my project. And if things go according to plan, this will kick off a build. And we can see what this is doing. All right, let's see if my runners are working. I'll give that a second. What this job is doing is just like starting up the job, downloading the secure files, and then listing them out. And if this doesn't work, I have another example that I can show in a second. You know what? I think I didn't register this runner. So I will show you a different project. So what this would have looked like is just like this. So you can see we're just starting it up. We run that curl command here, and it's downloads the program and installs it, and then downloads all the files. And then if I do an ls on the configured path there, I can see the files that were in there. This project had different files in it, but you can see that that they're all right there, and then you could use those in your job however you want. So so that's kind of the thing that's in progress right now, basically building out a UI to make this a little bit easier. And then the next thing, so coming up next, I've got an issue here. No, it's over here. So the next thing would be talking about how we make the like CI configuration runner integration a little bit better, more configurable, and more kind of in line with how we do things in our CI configs. So this issue, I proposed a change where we can add a secure files keyword into the CI YAML, and then be able to define the location here, and then also be able to define the files that we want. So if you have a dozen files or 100 files in a project, maybe you don't want all of those pulled into every job, and maybe there's reasons that you don't want all of those pulled in. So this would suggest I only want these 2 files. And then another way we could think about this would be adding a permissions part to it, where you could say this file should be executable when it's written. So this is an open discussion now. I'd love feedback, especially from all of you that are very familiar with the CI setup. Yeah, throw your feedback in that issue. And then the last thing that I have linked here is just this example project. I can get over to it. So this is just a little mobile app that I built for testing things out. And in the CI pipeline, I'm using the whole feature to build both Android and iOS apps and then deploy them to the beta releases. So this is using secure files, and it's using the whole kind of setup. So if you look at this guy here, you can see we're downloading our secure files and putting them in the Android folder. And then in this step here, we're putting it in the iOS folder. This is a Flutter app, so it's does both Android and iOS builds from the same code base, if you're curious what's going on there. So, so that is everything that I've got for this demo. Questions?
One of the questions I have, first off, thank you for going through this, Darby. I think it's extremely exciting. You and I have talked about this before. I think it's certainly going to be impactful for how we interact with the App Store and the Play Store, Google Play Store as well. You had mentioned before that there was like a 5 meg file upload limit. Is that the browser limit, or is that within the code itself?
Yeah, that's a limit that we've enforced for this feature. The intention is to use this for these kind of configuration style files, and so we don't want people uploading 2 gig files. That's not really the purpose. That's not really what this is designed for. So started off with a fairly low limit. We may adjust that over time if we get feedback that that's necessary. For the use case for mobile, 5 meg is way more than we need. Most of these files are 30K or something like that. So it should suit the mobile use case fine. But I know there are other use cases, and this is sort of built in a generalized way to support other use cases. So we may run into a situation where someone needs a larger file, and we could talk about that. But there may be other ways to approach that too. So we'll kind of see how that goes and see what feedback we get.
As you went through this process, had you experienced any, I guess, challenges that you didn't anticipate? I know that there was some integration with Fastlane. I was looking at your script too. Is there anything that jumped out to you that you just anticipate, or what a future iteration would look like based on once this part is complete?
Yeah, I think for the most part, this feature is pretty straightforward. In terms of getting it released on GitLab.com, there was a lengthy process that I went through of doing a readiness review. So this was getting infrastructure and SRE involved in kind of auditing the feature and making sure that it's scalable and stable and secure. And so we did an AppSec review and an infrastructure review, and there was some really good feedback out of that helped to improve it along the way. But it was a bit more in depth. It was a pretty in-depth process, which I thought was good. So I think, but otherwise, the feature is pretty straightforward. I think the future that I'm looking at with this is once we have kind of the UI and the runner integration into a good place. Mark mentioned the Fastlane integration. So something that I've started to work on is an integration with an open source tool called Fastlane. Fastlane is a Ruby open source project that makes the mobile build process a lot easier. And it's just a bunch of tools that you can run in. You could run it in a GitLab runner, or you could run it in GitHub Actions or Circle CI or whatever. One of the components of that is something called Fastlane Match, and that's a way that they simplify certificate storage. So the problem that Secure Files solves for is a problem that you run into with any mobile development that you're doing. Where do we put these things so that they're secure and we can use them in our pipelines? And so Fastlane has 3 backends that they support today: Amazon S3, Google Object Storage, GCP Object Storage, and then another version of it, which is just using a private Git repository as file storage. And so those are the ways that you can do it today. I've got code and a working prototype of using this feature, Secure Files, as a backend for Fastlane Match. The thing that I like about that is that it keeps everything in one project. So instead of putting your files in an Amazon S3 bucket and then your code over in GitLab or GitHub, you have it all together. You can have it all in one place, and you're not trying to control this build process with a bunch of different tools in different places, kind of the standard problem that we always run into. So I think the getting that into Fastlane, I'll work through the pull request process with that, but I think that should be pretty straightforward, and we should be able to get that released in the next couple months or so. So I'd like to see that happen. I think that will make it very easy for people to adopt this feature too then.
Yeah, this is really cool stuff. Did anyone else have any other questions for Darby around this process?
I've got a slightly more general question. So like, obviously we try and dog food as much of the things we build as possible, right? We also don't have a mobile app.
Yeah.
So do we have things that we can dog food with this, or I mean, I know you've got your unfiltered app that you've got yourself, but how do we get more eyes on this and more people using these things?
Yeah.
Or is that the question you're asking yourself, right?
That's a good question. The point of the unfiltered app is to at least just give us something to dog food with. But yeah, kind of like talking in this meeting is trying to build awareness for this feature so that we can, get some more people looking at this and trying it out. I think there's probably other use cases for it. I know that back when I started kind of sketching this idea out, the runner team had mentioned that they might have some use cases for a feature like this too, not specific to mobile, but specific to runner. So I want to talk with them and see if there's anything that would be useful for them. And then, yeah, if we don't have ways of dog fooding it, then the next best thing is getting some customers to use it. So there's a few folks that I've talked with in different customer interviews. So I'm reaching out to them and just trying to get some other folks in there and providing feedback. So if you have any projects or know of customers or anything like that, let me know. Like I said, it's behind a feature flag right now, but I'm happy to turn it on for anyone that wants to try it out.
I don't, but it sounds like Caleb has, based on what's in the agenda here. So I'll pass it over to Caleb.
Yeah.
Or you can sync up with maybe Caleb after this. It sounds like he has definitely a few that might be good use cases for this. Thanks, Darby, for showing this off. Encourage all of you to kind of check it out. It'd be great to see what additional use cases come off of this, but definitely exciting stuff and exciting times coming up. Okay, transitioning to our next showcase. Eduardo, definitely appreciate your jumping on and talking about PiScript. I know that you started to play with it a little bit, so I'm very fascinated about it and looking forward to what you're going to show us based on some of your findings so far. So floor is yours.
Hello everyone. So let me share my screen, share everything. It's sharing. Okay, so as you might have seen, last week was PyCon, and one of the main releases was PiScript. Now, for a lot of people, this might not be a lot exciting, but for me, it really is. This is Python, but running on the browser. So it's not a server, it's not transpiled to JavaScript. This is Python compiled to WebAssembly and runs on the browser. Now, why I'm so excited about this? Data scientists depend on the scientific stack on Python. Machine learning depends on the scientific stack in Python. There's no way around it. Like all of our ecosystem is either on Python or R, mostly Python. So when we want to create this quick web app just to show our results, what we have to do is we don't have those things on JavaScript. So we need to find a way to use Python. And we have things like Streamlit that allows us to create Python, and then it would auto generate the page for us to showcase whatever we do. The small web apps. This is not very large web apps, usually very small. But what is exciting about PiScript is that it comes with most of the scientific stack already compiled into WebAssembly. So I tested this out. So I'm working a lot with Jupyter Notebooks. So what I did, I created a NB-Lite. It's something that you pass a Jupyter Notebook, and it renders on the browser, allowing for it to be executed on the browser. So for example, over here, this is all running on GitLab pages. So this is not running on any server. And here I have a sample notebook that is this one over here. This is the sample notebook, nothing too fancy about it, but I can just then run over here and sometimes takes a while, but it runs. And this is running Python on the browser. So it imports the libraries, it runs the Python. And not only that, for example, I can pass another notebook that I have. And it loads, it creates, and I'll be able to run this as well. So it takes a little bit of, I need to wait a little bit of time because it takes a while to load. But all of this, all of this that it was created was, I don't know, 60 lines of adrenaline-induced vanilla JavaScript. So most of it is just like building the HTML. It's very, very simple to use, or from what I use so far. And where I was going, okay, let me go back over here. So for example, over here now it's loaded. And it just takes a while to run because it's slow. One of the downside, it's to load the initial part, it's quite slow. So over here, it will probably just run eventually. And then over here, for example, it just loads. It's not really well done yet because, for example, this, it doesn't really work, but I can do this, I can edit at runtime. So I can do fig x equals subplot, plot.subplots. And then I can do x.plot, x and y, and then do fig. Let's see if this will work. Yeah, it works. So I can create a REPL within the browser that runs Python. This is pretty exciting. Why? One, I can run, if I code review in Jupyter Notebooks, I can open on the browser without needing to load anything else and test the code. Small modifications here and there as well. If I create a machine learning model on my model registry or the place that I store the models, I can test the model without even leaving, creating a server or anything. It will just run over there. So that is really, really cool. I'm really excited about this. And yeah, if you have questions, I'm nerding out a lot on this. I started working on this yesterday and I'm really, really happy.
That's great. I mean, just thinking about running Python in a browser in itself is just pretty amazing to think about and just to wrap your head around. Are you, I guess, over time, it'll be interesting to see what the use cases will be like for this and where we could find good examples of this. And certainly, if there's any links or useful information to share, feel free to let me know or post them in channels that make sense. Did anyone have any questions for Eduardo at the moment? All right. Well, thank you so much again, Eduardo and Dari, for presenting. And thank you for all of you for joining today. Look forward to seeing you at the next showcase. In the meantime, have a great rest of your May 4th. Thank you.